myself inside alone. Found myself inside alone.
I want to thank you for joining Many Faiths, One Voice, Let Justice Roll, and Raise Montana today to celebrate our commitment as Montanans to wage justice. We call out our fellows to hear our voices of social advocacy and spiritual responsibility and join together in this public square to support I-151. Together we will see the passage of Montana's minimum wage increase on November 7th. It is an honor to introduce to you our first speaker today. Pat Williams represented Montanans in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1979 to 1997. Those 9 terms represented more consecutive House terms than ever given to any other Montanan. During many of those years, Pat was the senior member and chairman of the House Labor Committee that oversaw workplace legislation, including federal minimum wage. For 18 years, Pat was either the sponsor or the co-sponsor of every piece of federal legislation to increase the minimum wage. Thank you, Pat, for joining us today to speak on behalf of Montanans across this great state, calling us all to join together, placing people first and raising our minimum wage. Thank you, Pat Williams.
Hey. Hey. How are you? Thanks for being here. Montanans and Americans have a long and valued tradition of coming together in common. And the way Americans do that, by the way, is called government. Coming together in common to provide ourselves with our own basic essentials. That is, our requirements for a good life, to enjoy the common welfare and provide each for the other. We're hard on the Clark Fork River here. One of those essentials that Americans have come together to provide themselves is clean water. Clean air is another. Safe food. Secure streets, good schools. It's a peculiar American tradition, that coming together for the common good. And those laws and rules are adopted through us at every level, by us through every level of government, whether it's local, county, state, or federal. From filling potholes, Americans have insisted, and the Congress has raised that minimum wage to at least keep up with inflation, at least meet purchasing power. Only on 2 occasions since 1938 have presidents and Congress failed to raise that minimum wage every so often, every few years. The first time it happened, when there was a long decade gap between minimum wage increases, was in the 1980s. During the administrations of Ronald Reagan and George Bush. That was George Bush the better. The second time it's happened is right now, when we have gone through another near decade without the President and the Congress raising the minimum wage. This time, it's under the presidency of George W. Bush, Bush the Lesser. Now our workers who are at or near the minimum wage in their hourly pay have suffered, since the last time minimum wage was increased almost a decade ago, have suffered a 20% loss in their ability to buy. 20% below the cost of living. Purchasing power of today's minimum wage workers is the lowest it's been since 1955, when Dwight Eisenhower was president. And today's minimum wage workers' salary, compared to the average salary of other workers in America, is at the lowest rate it's been since the middle of World War II. So, what do Americans do when that happens? Historically, we do what you're doing. We say, all right, Mr. President, all right, Congress, if you won't construct these floors properly, if you won't pass the proper regulations and rules and laws to secure the common welfare, you won't do it in Washington, D.C., we'll do it in Montana. And like Montana, like you, people living in most of the states in the Union, more than half, have now taken it upon themselves to do what you're doing and raise their own state minimum wage. Raise it above what the federal law calls for. Currently, 6 states, 3 of those in the Rocky Mountain West, including Montana, now have ballot issues to raise the minimum wage. And by the way, speaking about us here in the West, here in the Rockies, you know, the current House of Representatives actually did pass a minimum wage bill earlier this year. And unbelievably, that bill would have lowered the minimum wage in Montana. It would have lowered the minimum wage in Nevada and Alaska and Oregon and Washington State and California, because it would have said to our minimum wage workers, ma'am, if you take that tip, you're going to lose that same amount in your minimum wage. You all have friends who are waiters or waitresses or bartenders or service employees who work for minimum wage, and some of them get tips. That bill that's passed the House of Representatives, if you got $2 an hour in tips, and it's not unusual for waitresses or waiters in a restaurant to make $2 an hour in tips, then that law would reduce your minimum wage from $5.15 to $3.15. And although these people in Congress, particularly those from Montana, are my friends, it would be wrong of me to not let you know that that terrible bill was tragically supported by our Congressman Dennis Reber, and he should be ashamed of himself. He voted to reduce the minimum wage for the first time in American history for Montana's workers. The last time you all made this effort was about 10 years ago. And at that time, the opponents of minimum wage, we've looked it up, spent $97,662 to defeat your efforts. And they did. They defeated the minimum wage increase on the ballot that year. Had that wage passed, last year, Montanans who make the minimum wage would have gotten 25 cents an hour more. 2 bits. Our opponent said 25 cents is too much. 25 cents in the year 2005, they said, is too much. In that same year, last year, 2005, the average income bonus, not income, but bonus, end of year bonus, for CEOs in America was $125,000. But 2 bits is too much for those same people. My friends, there's a racket going on in America, and we're determined to stop it. Quite frankly, because of our opponents in high places, people like Tom DeLay, a guy named Ney, a guy in the news more recently named Foley, and a number of others who fly the halls of Congress every day with names like Jack Abramoff. Unfortunately, there's a racket going on in Congress too, and in exactly 1 month from today, 1 month exactly from today, you're going to have the opportunity to wake up the next morning on November the 7th, march straight to your election booth, vote for this initiative and help stop these rackets. Thank you very much.
This is Reverend Peter Schober. He has long been involved with various issues related to progressive religion, such as peace and human rights. He was the recipient in 2006 of the Jeanette Rankin Peacemaker of the Year Award, and has been pastor to the University Congregational Church, UCC, here in Missoula for over 15 years. We are so pleased to have Reverend Schober here today to share some words with us.
Cat. Pat's quite a preacher, isn't he? I was outside the tent talking on the phone when Pat came into this area. He came down those stairs. As he was coming down the stairs, the sun came up. And I thought, my God, it's like Moses coming down the mountain. But thank you to Pat. He is a politician with soul, and that's not either a contradiction in terms or very common. So thank you for that. And I wanted to thank Kat Wright too. Kat has worked really, really hard as an organizer for this day. She's come over from Helena a number of times, and Kat, you've really done very, very good things. I want to apologize for my voice. It's pretty funky. I'm getting some kind of cold. But my heart is full to see all of us here doing what we're doing. I was asked to lift up a prayer, so let's join together in prayer. Holy One, we dare to pray. Lord, let the world be changed, for we long to see the end of poverty. We dare to pray, Lord, let the rules be changed, for we long to see all jobs pay a wage that enables a life of dignity and sufficiency. We dare to pray, Lord, let the rules be changed, for we long to see our economy bring justice to the poor. We dare to pray, Lord, let our lives be changed, for we long to bring hope where good news is needed, in the strength of your Spirit and inspired by your compassion. We ask for the strength to work for equity and to patiently yearn for the day when justice will flow down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Amen. You know, it's the better parts of who we are that bring us here today. And look at us. We are not that many people, but we are a people that represent a lot of difference in this town. A lot of different faith communities, a lot of different community organizations. And when that happens, something particularly right and good is going on. Now, many folks would say that a gathering like this is just a bunch of do-gooders, a bunch of oddballs, or radicals, because we're talking about justice and poverty. And we talk about all those wonderful, wonderful intersections where our own deepest yearnings connect with the deepest needs of the world. But it's okay that they would call us those names, because they really aren't here to make fun of us, so we can just be here and have fun. And that's what we're all supposed to be about. We're going to have a little bit of singing and a little bit of dancing. We've been doing some eating. That's a good thing. In truth, it isn't radical, and it certainly isn't odd, or it isn't a stretch, or an attempt to use some kind of foreign language when people of faith come together to speak out on issues of poverty and economic justice. It is our native language if we take our traditions seriously. It's where we come from. It is the way of life that has been set before us by those who came before us and who showed us the way. When there is wrong, we come up and speak to that which is right. That's very basic. And so it's good that we're here. And whether we follow Buddha or Moses, Muhammad, Jesus, or if we're Hindu or from another tradition, all of us take faith seriously. And we're here because we see it as a place where justice and faith together are like air and breathing. They're like ground and walking. Faith, love, and justice are not foreign to each other. They're native with each other. And so it's no stretch to be here at this rally to bear witness for justice. It's no stretch because we're people of faith. And of course we're going to do this. This is a decent thing to do. And how can we be silent? It's no stretch to talk about poverty and inequality. Our people have been doing that for thousands of years. We've been proclaiming it since the slaves left Egypt, since those crazy faith-fueled abolitionists left slavery behind. People of faith proclaimed the acceptable year of the Lord along with others with that first minimum wage law back in the 1930s. People of faith were in the midst of those great nonviolent movements of Mahatma Gandhi and Reverend King and Bishop Tutu. and all kinds of movements. It's where we come from. It's who we are. How can we not speak? It is no stretch to proclaim our values, our moral values, our theological values, our ethics, our family values, if you will. And our family values are a lot broader and deeper and accepting than the family values we so often hear about that don't seem to care a whit about social and economic justice for all. You know, all of us, in our own ways, sometimes forget about the need to speak and to bear witness. And there's always going to be lots of folks that don't want us to remember. But today, we don't forget. And we get to be a people who live beyond the captivity of narrow self-concern. Today, we get to be a good slice of who we already are. Sometimes we get amnesia and forget that we are all a part of each other, and when one part hurts, everyone hurts. Sometimes we just hide and we don't want to hear and see and touch the world. But today, we give each other the gift of remembrance and sight and hearing and touching. Today we lift up our voice and sing of the moral values that guide us. And the minimum wage is a bedrock moral value. It is immoral that workers who care for children, who care for the ill and the elderly, struggle to care for their own families. It is immoral that the minimum wage keeps people in poverty instead of out of poverty. And as many people have said, a job should keep you out of poverty, not keep you in it. We will keep organizing for a decent minimum wage so that workers no longer have to choose between rent and health care, putting food in the refrigerator or gas in the car. I keep a little inscription, a little saying by my desk, and I've done it for many years. It says, "A vision without a task might be a mirage. A task without a vision can be drudgery. But a vision with a task brings hope to the world." And with this issue today, we are given both vision and task, not as a terminus, but as a beginning point. As one of the folks involved with this event said to me a couple of weeks ago, this initiative will not remove the bread lines, but it might make them shorter. Of course we need to raise the minimum wage, but we also need to lower the obstacles that keep us from the minimum wage being a living wage. Reverend King used to quote the words of an old African slave preacher in some of his speeches. The slave preacher used to say, "We ain't what we ought to be, and we ain't what we want to be, and we ain't what we're going to be, but thank God we ain't what we was." And so it is. We keep marching. We keep marching with the people who have marched before us, and we keep marching for those people that are going to follow us, so that we can help create a world that's decent and just and kind. Dr. King also liked to quote words of a 19th century abolitionist, Unitarian minister named Theodore Parker. And he would say, "The arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice." It's a great line. The arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Let's say it together so you don't forget. The arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. It is no stretch that we, all of us together, are part of that bend. And we're also a part of that arc, and we're a part of that universe, and we're a part of that justice. So let's bend, and let's stretch, and let's go deeper, and let's not forget who we are. So let's be who we are. People of love, people of justice, people of faith who stretch out towards justice and bend always towards love. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm encouraged that the sun is coming out for us. I think that's a very good sign. I just want to say a few quick words about Montana Women Vote. Montana Women Vote is a coalition of 10 organizations that works to educate and mobilize unlikely women voters, particularly younger women and lower income women, to participate in the democratic process. We think this is a really important project because if you do not vote, not only do you not get to pick the people who represent you, but the issues that are of grave importance to you may not be taken into consideration by decision makers. And so I think it's very important that all people represented in the democratic process, particularly lower income women. Some of the organizations that are involved with Montana Women Vote include some great organizations such as WORD, Homeward, Blue Mountain Clinic, Planned Parenthood, the YWCA, and the Human Rights Network. Montana Women Vote works on issues including economic justice, which is very pertinent to today's discussion, and also domestic violence, environmental health, and healthcare, and all these other issues that have significant impacts on people's lives. And our work is really pretty much getting out there and making the voting process more accessible. Today, for example, at our booth, you can register to vote. This is the very last weekend to register to vote. So you can vote at your regular polling place. So you can go ahead and register to vote today. We also have information available so you can find out where your polling place is, so you can find out what House and Senate districts you'll be voting on. And we have this information, for example, we're tabling today for 6 hours out at Walmart, making this process more available to everybody in the community. Of course, Montana Women Vote is primarily driven by volunteers, so if you're interested in helping with the project, we need some people to help with get out the vote, phone calls, and things like that, so if you're interested, please just stop by our booth. Montana Women Vote has been very interested in addressing issues of low wages because, of course, this is of grave importance to our constituents, particularly to women, because 60% of minimum wage earners are women, and 1 in 4 has a child under the age of 18. Today, instead of going on at length, I would like to introduce to you Tara Dennis, who has worked for low wages on and off in an effort to provide for her 3 children. She's an amazing mother, and also a member of the Montana Women Vote leadership group that meets monthly to educate themselves about political issues and learn how to be more involved in making positive change in the community. So I'd like to introduce Tara and thank her for coming out today.
It's my biggest struggle right now, trying to decide if I should go get a job again. If it's even worth my time, because if I do, I'm not going to get ahead because I take from every aspect of my life. So I went through a phase and I came up here and I'm ready. I'm like, I want to send my kids to a good school. Schooling is very important to me. It wasn't given to me. It wasn't taught that education, you need to go so you can make money one day. So I was really fortunate to go and work with troubled teens. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Then I made a choice to be a single mom of 3 kids, and they're the blessings of my life, and I'm dedicated every day to them. And I'm scared of our future, so I'm like, I'm going to make a better future by creating my kids the way I want to see the future. So I decided not to put my kids into public school, and I'm going to put them into a Montessori school, and lo and behold, we have good money for that every month. So I was like, okay, I made this decision, now I'm going to go get a job to support my decision. So I go out, I get a job delivering papers at 3 in the morning. So then I get another job picking up 40 hours at Target. Woohoo! I'm already tired. And then I started babysitting 3 days a week too. So really, I'm carrying 3 jobs, and it was exhausting. When I carried 3 jobs, thinking I was going to get ahead and be able to support my kids for a better future, everything just crumbled. Because one minute, I have food for my kids, but since I work 3 jobs, it's like my food stamps. Okay, so I lost out there, which was a bummer. But I'm like, okay, we can get through this. I keep working my 3 jobs, and in the end, my rate goes up, and it's just not working. I'm getting no sleep, and my kids, they're deprived of my attention, and I'm dedicated to my kids completely. So I quit working. I quit my Target job, did my paper route, just kind of one by one, everything went away. And here I am today, honestly, jobless. I babysit kids off and on, and I have discovered it's the biggest challenge, and it should not be a challenge, the fact that I have to decide if I want to work or if I want to stay home with my kids. Because it's easier for me to be at home with my kids and just surrender to life and know that I'll be taken care of from the universe as long as I'm putting out in a positive way. And every month, I'm not kidding you, I take 2 days a week, 2 days a month, as ridiculous as it sounds, 2 days a month to make sure my bills are paid and make sure my kids have everything they need for the month coming, and making sure my daughter's school gets paid. Those 2 days, I come up with more money than I do working 3 jobs. I don't know how it's done, but it's done. And to me, it's sad. It's sad that we even have to be put in the situation that working or not working, it's easier for us to be homeless than it is for us to even go to work. I have a better end of it because I've been fortunate to get into subsidized housing. So for me, I live easily. I can only imagine my ex-husband and his wife right now. We're a great family. We work together as a team because I support unity in the family, even if we're not together. My kids don't know us together, so we're going to be friends and work together. They're working 40 hours plus, going to work every day, and they're about to have a baby. They don't have insurance, they don't qualify for anything. So they're not going to get ahead either. They're in a situation where if she quits work, they'll be able to they'll be able to barely make it. And that's with my help. So the fact that we have to give up work to be able to make it is sad, because I want a career. I would give anything to just be able to go out every day and go to work and love what I'm doing and know that I can still be dedicated to my kids on my own and just doing it. But that's not my reality. My reality is, yeah, I can go to work, but it's not benefiting me because there's no step ahead. And I've been doing this, and I feel redundant almost. Because I do the same thing. I'm working, I quit. I work, I quit. And it's just it's seriously right now easier for me not to work because minimum wage is retarded. We don't make anything on minimum wage at all. And honestly, I haven't worked directly for minimum wage since I was 13 years old and got my first job in a restaurant doing dishes. And I started at $4.75, and then we went up to minimum wage, and I was all excited to get a raise for $5.15. And then I went and got offered a daycare job, and I was like, yes, I can do this. My kids can come with me. It benefits in every area. I got offered minimum wage, and I was just like, I can't do it. Minimum wage will not support me and my 3 kids. By me turning down this job at minimum wage, I was on TANF, on state assistance, and some people would even look at me and say, you're a welfare mom. I'm not on welfare right now. I refuse to get on welfare. Because they sit and tell me self-sufficiency, and my goal is to get moved up in the world so that I'm not on it no more, but really they create me to be on it even more. And it's a redundant process that I'm not going to do anymore. And so right now my goal is to work and be with my kids all at the same time, and I will find a way to do it without working for minimum wage. If we got minimum wage up, that would just be the beginning of a whole new world. That would be a start for a single mom, 3 kids who wants to better and put my kid into a Montessori school. It shouldn't be such a challenge for me to go find a job that will support my little goal that I want to do. To me and to you guys, it's just little. I want to put my kids into school. That's all I want to do. And for me to do it, working isn't the way, because $5.15 isn't going to make the way for me. So for me, I support upping minimum wage because Let's create a better tomorrow. Let's get people out there and working and not working. Because really, not working is the way to go. So I'm here for you, and together I think we should be able to up minimum wage and do something different. That's all.
I'm gonna walk with the Prince of Peace down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna walk with the Prince of Peace down by the riverside, down by the riverside. It's time to change that wage, time to change that wage. It's fair, it's just, it's time to change